The work we do as filmmakers is rooted in something that can have a profound effect on culture. And with that, I think, comes an opportunity, perhaps even a responsibility, to use that impact for the greater good. And what I saw as an opportunity was teaching the next generation of filmmakers to incorporate into the narratives of their film and television issues of social change. The primary way that we've learned, as well as being entertained, has been through storytelling. That's been the case since the beginning of time. And the way we learn today, as well as being entertained, is through storytelling via the media. We teach a class every spring at USC called Making Media for Social Change. We have 12 or 14 students in the class. Each one chooses an issue of his or her choice and weaves that issue into the narrative of the film. But they're never assigned. They're always chosen by the student. And I think it's important also to make the point that we're completely apolitical at the Media Institute for Social Change. We don't take a position on any of these social issues. So if you want to make a film about a political issue or a health issue or guns or a civil rights issue or human rights or any issue of your own choice, we don't tell you which side of that issue to be on. That's up to you. The important thing to know is that by weaving it into your film, you can change minds. One of the things that's most gratifying to me is seeing students become aware of how they can make a positive contribution themselves to the world through their filmmaking. They're not thinking only about making that romantic comedy or that suspense film or that horror film. They're now thinking about how they can also change the world through the entertaining content of their films. And that's very gratifying because they begin to think differently. And when they begin to think differently, they begin to act differently. And when they begin to act differently, we all benefit. More and more, there is a huge link between education and entertainment. Statistics show that most people in this country get their medical information from television, not from their doctors, from television. Shows like ER and Grey's Anatomy and all of the other medical shows on television are serving a purpose to educate people as well as entertain them. With that comes a responsibility. They need to get it right. And that link, I think, between education and entertainment is something that TrueSpark understands. They're using films which were intended originally purely as vehicles for entertainment, and from that extracting messages of education that students can use for themselves. So you mentioned a film like Guess Who's Coming to Dinner. I think it was 1967 that film was made. That was the very year that the law was changed, allowing interracial couples to marry. Prior to 1967, it was still illegal in this country for interracial couples to marry in some parts of the United States. It had such impact that it was really responsible for introducing into the national conversation the issue of interracial marriage at a time when it was very badly needed. So these films have a tremendous impact on what people are talking about and thinking about, and they have a real ability to change minds. And that's what makes them so important. There's a lot of research that supports the extent to which media has had a very positive social impact on children. Probably the very best example of this is Sesame Street. Here's a show that's being watched by children who are 3 and 4 years old, and Sesame Street captivates them. It's so entertaining, and the storytelling is so good that they're able to actually introduce issues into these shows for 3 and 4-year-olds having to do with the wars in Afghanistan and Iraq and veterans coming home from those wars, and various health issues and various issues of poverty. This is extraordinary stuff, and when research is done, what comes up all the time is the very positive effect that this show has had on very, very young children. Well, you can extrapolate that and go all the way to the dozens and dozens of films that are on the TrueSpark list. All of those films do the same thing for young adults and adults. One of the things that the Media Institute does, apart from teaching classes and making films and giving scholarships, is also research. And we did some research early on that actually measured the success of the TrueSpark program and was instrumental, I think, in proving the efficacy of what TrueSpark was doing. And I'd like to think that it had a real effect on TrueSpark's ability to grow from what started as a very small program to what I think will eventually become a very large and national program. That the TrueSpark program is developing an appreciation among teenagers who are viewing these films for these kinds of films, and when they are older, they might start to think about supporting this kind of filmmaking, and when they go to the movies, they might want to see more films that are in fact socially relevant and have these character traits as part of the entertainment. It occurred to me that this was a perfect partner for the Media Institute for Social Change, and there was actually work that we could do together, and it's turned out to be the case. What I think students are now learning is that you can be entertaining and you can make any kind of movie that you want to. It can be a science fiction film or a buddy film or a comedy or a drama or a heist movie, and at the same time, if it's good storytelling and has really engaging characters, you can weave into the narrative of that film an issue of change. And so whether it's film or television or new media, there's a huge opportunity there for media makers to change the culture, have an effect on the culture for the better through their work.